Jonathan, what's going on, my man? Look
Dude,
at that
what's up, brother?
whiteboard behind you.
Oh, dude, I've got a lot going on to the point where I've got to switch it out because people are like, it's almost too distracting, to be honest. So I'm gonna switch it up.
That's awesome, man. I have a board over here. I'll show it to you. You can't really see it kind of thing, but it's how oh God, I lost my tripod here. But that's how I go after FISBOs. That's my thing.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. So I want to know more about your year this year, and then like who your target clients are, and how we can help you, and then like dive into what you think's coming.
Yeah, definitely. Let's break it down. It's been a crazy year for everyone, I think. Like the past 3 months might as well be a completely different year than the first 9 months, right? And first 9 months were really crazy. Beginning of the year, people were overbidding on stuff, hard to find things. It's still hard to find things, but just in a different way. But it was hard to find things. People were like, it was a frenzy. And then I remember, I think it was like mid-June was when the original peak in mortgage interest rates happened.
Mm-hmm.
And like second week of June, I think. And then things just like started to take a turn. People were like freaking out, like they didn't know what was going to happen. Rates started to come down a little bit, and they spiked back up, and it created that volatile environment that we were in for, God, the better part of the last 6 months, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, what were some of the other questions you asked me?
Well, no,
I'm rambling.
I've got the interest rate chart in front of me, and you're like spot on. Exactly in June, it was up to 6, dropped down a little bit to 5.5. Then it completely spiked 2 months ago in October at 7.14, and now we're declining. And at the end of last month, we were at 6.5, and I think kind of in the future, I think things are going to more level out more than anything, and kind of this is going to be the new norm around 5, 6 interest rates, and we're going to get used to it, and we need to wait for sellers to slowly kind of lower their expectations now, and because they were so used to getting so many offers, it was just getting out of control.
I am spot on. I know that because I listed a property, I think on like June 10th, and that was like the worst day of all year to list a property. But that's how I remember that. But yeah, I remember I talked to some sellers in sometime around like September or something like that, and it was one of those conversations where I was like, hey, listen, I don't think that it's prudent because you always have to give people options, right? In any sort of scenario, you never want to give them like, hey, your place is worth exactly $444,000, 250, like that's it. So
Yeah.
when you give them ranges, I always give like an aggressive range. Like if you really want to roll the dice, this is the ceiling. And I had given someone the ceiling of, I think it was like in the 650 range. I was like, anything over 650, like you're wildly out. You're not even in the ballpark. And they're like, well, I'm thinking like 725. And that was the end of that conversation. And yeah, I mean, like it took a while for people to start connecting the dots of how the environment has changed. But it's happening. It's happening more frequently when I have conversations with homeowners now. It seems like they're more in tune with what's going on. And it almost seems like they're lagging a little bit too. Like a lot of homeowners that I'm talking to, or at least in the past like 2 weeks or something like that, they still think like the world's coming to an end. And I'm like, well, actually, like after Thanksgiving, things have kind of started to pick back up because rates have kind of dropped a little bit. Like you may not be aware of that, but interest rates are now, in the low 6s. A lot of people are looking at in the 5s, and that's something you might not be aware of. But to your point, I think it is kind of the new normal. And I have read some economist reports too that kind of say that the 4s and the 5s are like a healthy place for the U.S. economy to be at in terms of mortgage rates.
Yeah.
If that's true, I don't know how they came up with that number, but sure, let's go with that.
Well, I was even at a meetup yesterday. My friend Jason Wagner, you might know him, but he puts out a good report with a bunch of analytics. And like the thing that made sense to me is like, well, to have an increase of people who want to sell their home, they have to go buy another home too. So if they're already sitting and they refinanced before, and now they're sitting at a 2 or 3 or 4%. Like now they have to go and retrade at 6.5% interest rate. Like I mean, I wouldn't want to go buy a house if I have a super low interest rate. Like I'd have to have that life event where it's like I need a new home opposed to I want a new home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have heard that. So let me put it this way. I've heard that framework often, and I don't know if I agree with it because I've had very few situations where one of my clients was moving because they just felt like it was a good time to move. Almost all of my clients were moving because they had one of those life events. They had a child. They wanted to start a family. Maybe that one bedroom condo didn't work anymore. They needed a second bedroom. COVID happened. People needed offices in their homes. You know, COVID's kind of over. Maybe people don't need the space anymore. They're going back into the office. Maybe they want to be closer to work now. So, sorry, my cat's getting a little hyper, but in my experiences so far, most of the people that have been moving have not been doing so to take advantage of lower rates, but rather because their life required it. The only people that I really experienced that were taking advantage of low rates or selling because of the highs were people who were investors or opportunistic looking for something else. Maybe you had an absentee owner situation where the guy's like, yeah, I'll cash out now. Now's a great time to cash out. Let's sell this thing, or something like that. So I don't know if I subscribe to the ideology that people in the twos and threes will not retrade for a higher rate. Sometimes their life just requires it, and in most situations, that's I feel like why people move. I'm sure there's probably a survey of why like the motivation for moves. I'm sure the NAR has done something like that,
Oh
and I'm
yeah.
really really curious to see what those motivations are. But just in my own personal life, every time I move, it's because my life required it.
Yeah, that makes sense. As far as where your business has been over the last, call it, year or so, what neighborhoods do you like the most, and have you had the most activity in?
I'm pretty spread out all around Chicago. I can't say like I seriously operate in one market over the other. Plus, I moved from like North Lakeview, Uptown area to I'm in the medical district now, which is like opposite side of the city. So I
Oh,
honestly cut off all of my farming stuff that I was doing in Lakeview just because it's like a 40-minute drive most of the day to get over there. So it just doesn't make sense for me to continue to market in those areas. But most of the business that I've been doing has been coming from either referral sources or like open houses in certain areas, calling for sale by owners, and like you can't just like if you're we'll take for sale by owners for example. It doesn't make sense for me to put a small little radius on a small neighborhood or a couple blocks for sale by owners because there might be one in that area a year. My search for sale by owners is all of Cook County. You know what I mean? So it just kind of business goes. I go where the business calls me, and from my perspective, it is sales. Any way you slice it, every house needs its own marketing plan. Every property has its own archetype of a buyer, and it's my job to kind of figure out who that buyer is and how to effectively market and position that property to get in front of them.
when did you make the transition to full time? Because you're full time agent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you make the transition? How long ago was it?
Um, April, March. I was effectively putting in full-time hours since basically the beginning, I would say. Um, but I still had like a W-2 job up until April or March. Yeah.
Oh, this year.
Yeah.
Oh, so you just quit? I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was it an awesome feeling to throw in the towel?
It it was. It was more of just like a weight lifted off my shoulder because it came at a time where I was really, really busy and stretched thin geographically too. Like I had deals going on in Chicago, I had deals going on in like the southwest suburbs, I had deals going on in the northwest suburbs, and like on top of that, I still had like a job that, and thankfully for me, like the job that I had was super cool with me being a realtor, and I would
Yeah.
like I would work for like a couple hours and be like, yo, I gotta run. And they'd be like, sounds good. But just like being able to like say I can't spend time on this anymore. It's just taking up mental space for me. Um, if that felt really good, you know what I mean?
Mm,
What
yeah.
about yourself?
Yeah. I left at the, well, I left my traditional W-2 in 2019, or yeah, the end of 2018. And then I worked for a tech startup for
Yeah.
2 years. So that's not still W-2-ish. And then at the end of 2020, I left the tech company and we started our own, obviously, general contracting business. So, but yeah, it's a gratifying feeling, and I like the feeling of having my back up against the wall versus like just casually kind of coasting. And I know myself, I get stuck in that pattern of like contentment in my life sometimes, and then I take that step of doing something I'm feeling uncomfortable with. And agreed, yeah, that whiteboard is huge. I know, my bad. It's super colorful and distracting, but um, even just like coming on Instagram Live or going to these different network events where we, constantly have to put ourselves in a situation that's maybe not our comfort zone. I think I read like a stat of like 95 or 98% of people like appreciate when someone comes up and talks to them. And it's like
Wow.
that easy that most people feel uncomfortable being that person. So if you can bridge that gap, like people are going to appreciate that. So I'm always trying to just continually step out of that comfort zone, and like leaving your job is obviously one of those things, but I've never felt more fulfilled since just because, I wake up earlier. I wake up super early. I wake up at 4 now. I've gradually moved it up. So yeah, super early. But I have a lot of time to myself, right? From like 4 to 6, I can just focus on myself. And that to me is super important, because when I'm happiest myself, I can be, the best partner, the best parent when I have kids, the best friend, the best like business person I can be when I'm healthy, myself mentally, physically, emotionally, etc.
Yeah, I love that. I used to be a really big morning person. I used to be 5 a.m. club kind of guy. And over the past couple months, like it has slipped away. And it's something that we're actively trying to get back into because you're right. Like you're just more on top of it. I
Well,
didn't go
yeah,
to the gym today because like the day just kind of caught up to me and I woke up too late.
the key, I think I talked about it the last time too, but the key for me is like waking up is difficult, but like the key is actually going to sleep with the right intention. If I Before I go to sleep, like I have the intention, like I know what time I'm getting up, and then when I start my day, it's in complete like control and responsiveness opposed to being in reactiveness to what's going on, because now I've like slowly graduated into my day. I've set my calendar. I know exactly where I'm going when, and I'm more in control opposed to like reaction to my day, which I just love more than anything.
I love that. Let's talk about that a little bit. How do you spend your day? What is what are you focusing on right now? What's your intention? How are you preparing for 2023 right
Yeah.
now?
So traditional day for sure. Like I said, I'm up at 4. Well, I'll just talk about a good day, right? Because they're not all good. And
Yeah.
one of my favorite quotes is, "The highest achievers get back on track the fastest." So it's like always my goal. Like I know I'm not going to have a perfect day every day, but my goal is always to get back on track the fastest, because that's when I know I'm in my best. But traditional awesome day, I'm up at 4 a.m. I'll go for a run out in the cold. Not far, like maybe it's 15-minute run, but just getting me outside, doing something I'm uncomfortable with, like being cold. I I don't like running. So if I'm wake up and the first thing I do is something I am uncomfortable doing, running and being in the cold, I know I can just handle anything else in my day. So that's probably 4 to 4:30, from 4:30 to 5 if I'm reading for half an hour. Then from 5 to 6, I'll do a workout, so some type of yoga, some type of like core work. From 5:30 to 6, I'll like shower, get a protein shake, and then from 6 to 7, I'm on bigger pockets. So I'll go from bigger pockets from like 6 to 6:45, and then I'll check my calendar. We use Asana at Quality Builders for like kind of our daily task management, and then we have our first meeting at 7:15 for like daily standout, where our team comes in, all like 8 or 9 of us come in, go through all of our tasks, which are actually set by time. So I have like, okay, at 7:30 I'm doing this. At 8 o'clock I have this task. At 8, just so, and it doesn't always go perfectly, but at least I, in principle, have like a plan of how I'm going to attack my day. I think even someone said it to me today, but like it was a Dwight D. Eisenhower quote where it's like, um, having a plan is worthless, but planning is indispensable. And so yeah, so I've always have a plan, but it's always changing throughout the day. And then usually I have some consultations for quality builders. I'll either be walking some job sites, doing some lunch meetings, and then we operate off EOS, which is we have like a level 10 meeting for each different department every day, and then usually towards the end of my day I'm working out, hopefully at the gym, and then I eat and I go to sleep early. So I don't even watch too much TV anymore. I'll read probably before I go to sleep, and then on a good day, if I like am in bed and going to sleep by 9:30 or 10.
That's highly productive. Good for you.
Yeah.
I wish my days looked like that, man.
I mean, I just told you the perfect day, mind you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's all not perfect. But like, I'm a slave in some senses to my calendar. So like, if it's not on my calendar, there's just no chance I'm gonna remember to do it. So
I forgot about this, and then my alert popped up, and I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta get down here."
but so I also joined a group for Go Abundance. So my 2023, I have or my 2022, we do like a one sheet where we have like different buckets of like health, spirituality, like adventure trips, relationships, business and financials, and then set goals for each one of those buckets. So this year I'm going to reset those, but I just make them very, very, smart goals. So very measurable, and set like the lead measure and the lag measure. So last year was the first year I really got serious goal setting. It went very well. This year I'll like double down, probably do less goals, because there was just too many for me, and get a little more hyper focused. Do you have any specific goal planning you're doing for 2023?
To be honest with you, I have not really started my goal planning a whole lot. I have kind of like loose goals that I haven't really solidified yet, and part of that comes from just I've changed my approach in business a lot over the past 3 months, call it, and that is part of. I talk a lot about adaptability, and you have to constantly be measuring your activity, right? Because if you start doing something that's not working, you need to act quickly to cut it off. And a lot of my paid marketing expenses were not getting me the results that I needed. So I cut off a lot of those lead flows. And I thought to myself more, where's the business coming from later? I separate my business into now business and then business. And now business is like, for sale by owners is a now business. I'm pretty confident I could get a for sale by owner listing in the next month because they pop up. There's math behind it. 90% of them aren't going to list with an agent anyways. So it's a question of how do you build a relationship with them to create now business. But I've been thinking a lot more about like the then business, and this has really been the business planning aspect of what I've been doing. So for the past month, I've been spending a lot of time building out my referral business, and that's like probate attorneys, that's divorce attorneys, that's bankruptcy attorneys, that's finding REO accounts for when REOs do come back. And most of my days have been like, I've gotten so many lunches, dude, over the past month. I've gotten so many lunches and so many drinks because I'm trying to build out those core buckets of referral partners. Because from my perspective, if I could have like 3 to 5 core referral partners in each of those verticals, well, my business will be a lot more predictable than what it has been for the past 2 years, which has really been running around trying to find the next deal. And there's a part of that. That's the now business. But the then business is finding something that's a little bit more predictable and a little bit more business to business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it all comes from relationships.
How are you managing your follow-ups for those?
For
Uh,
those,
yeah,
just in my calendar, just in my calendar. I haven't found a really good way to integrate them into my CRM yet. You know what I mean? So I have on my calendar that I'm trying to touch base with them at least like once a month, you know? And if they're sending me a referral, like I'm probably in contact with them pretty regularly. Um, just finding them has been really like the focus because I'm not just cold calling like every attorney and every, contact in the state. I'm trying to find these through word of mouth and referrals themselves because those are much more meaningful conversations. Like if one attorney that I work with says, hey, to another attorney, hey, you should talk to Tony. He's really aggressive. He's really good at what he does. You guys would get along well. And then we have a conversation. The chances of me forming an actual business relationship with that person that could be, symbiotic and we could help each other grow, the chances are much higher. So that's really been the focus. And like I said, it's only been my focus for the past 2 months. So I do not have those core five built out yet. But that's been my emphasis. I guess you could say one of my goals is filling all those out probably by the end of January.
yeah, yeah. They're so key. Referrals are by far the best recommendation you can get because super hot lead.
Super hot, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask you, what CRM are you using?
So at EXP, we use KV Core. That's included. I used to use Follow Up Boss, and I just stopped using Follow Up Boss because I had paid for it for a full year. So, switching CRMs is no easy task. But now that my Follow Up Boss subscription is coming to an end, I'm moving things over to KV Core. So that way I'm not paying $2,000 again. But I use KV Core.
Did
And
you
what's up?
did you like Follow Up Boss?
I did. I liked it a lot. Yeah.
But KV Core comes with EXP's
Bingo. KV
brokerage.
Core is a little bit more robust. Like it could do a lot more things. Like I was paying $2,000 for Follow Up Boss. I was paying, I think I was paying like $100 a month for my website, $40 for my instant home valuation that I could send to homeowners. Like I was paying a lot of money, and this is all free in Follow Up Boss. So Follow Up Boss is really robust. It's just, I don't know if you've ever worked with Salesforce before, but like Salesforce, super robust, can do a lot of things. Very, very difficult to navigate.
Yeah, you need a developer just to use it, right?
Yes, you do. KV Core is kind of the same way. Like it can do everything, but it's so daunting.
What about social media for you? Because I love your social media. You're doing all types of like awesome, interesting videos. Do you get a lot of business through social media?
Social media is interesting because I don't really I've never gone viral or anything like that. Okay, but I use social media as a way to kind of stay on top of my sphere, and I find it really effective rather than just like calling somebody that I went to college with and be like, hey, what's going on? I haven't talked to you in 10 years. Like, you want to buy some real estate?
Yeah.
But, through social media, they see that I'm a real estate agent. They see my life, and, you could create, what's the word for it? It's parasocial relationship. Have you heard that word before?
No, never.
So a parasocial relationship is one which they see you through social media. And even though you aren't conversing in real life, because they see your life, they see who you are, they see like an authentic side to you, they feel like they know you. And that's a parasocial relationship. And you could build those, and they're really powerful, they're really strong. That's why like some people get so obsessed with the Kardashians and stuff like that. They've created a parasocial relationship with them, and they feel like they have some connection to these people they've never met and who will never know they exist. So for me, social media has been a way to just kind of stay present and top of mind with people that I know, even if I'm not close with them. And I have gotten a lot of business from people that like I once upon a time knew at some point in my life, and they just were like, "Hey, I'm getting married. I'm thinking about buying a place. Can we talk?" And it's like, "Hell yeah, we can talk."
Yeah. How do you come up with your ideas for your videos?
A couple ways. Are you familiar with Answer the Public?
Mm.
So Answer the Public is a really great website, and you can type in like any search term, like it'll tell you. I wish I could show you my computer right now, but so it'll tell you right now, I type in real estate, it pulls up 388 Google search terms relating to real estate, and it breaks them out down into um, who questions, which questions, how questions. Like, here's apparently this is a very highly Google term, but how real estate works. Someone's searching that.
Hmm.
How real estate investing works. What real estate agents do. Can real estate agents have tattoos? Like these are all questions that are regularly searched, and you could go to answer the public, and you could find things relating to your topic and your niche. Other things I like to do is see what other agents are doing. That's really, really, powerful. I took a note today of something I saw somebody do on TikTok, and I'm like, oh, I like that. Um, where did I write it down? The topic of it was, the most beautiful homes for sale in Chicago. And you can make it like a list. And like that video, it went viral, sort of. But like it wasn't related to Chicago, but like you can make it related to Chicago. You can find beautiful homes or most expensive homes, and you could create a video based on that in 5 minutes. So seeing what's working for other people and figuring out a way to incorporate that into my own feed so that it's relevant has really been what I have like focused on. And part of that is just, looking. You don't have to do any crazy research. Just look what's on your feed.
Yeah, I think that's like that was such a good point. I listen to a lot of like Ed Mylett podcast, and he's like, it's not really about the information anymore because the information is out there for all of us to find. Like, it's probably one of the easiest times to become an entrepreneur of some sort, which is what being a real estate agent, truly is, because you're creating your own business. And like, the answers are out there in two specific places at everything, right? Google and YouTube. Like, you can learn how to do anything you want at your fingertips. And so I love this idea that you put out there. I wrote it down, answer the public, because I'm sure there's even like cool things that we can be looking into about general contracting, right? Like, what are people asking about general contractors, right? Because you can look up anything on there, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. You want me to tell you what? Let's see, general contracting. Hold on a second. Actually, one thing that I've been trying to get going, and apparently I needed an account to look up another thing. Here, I got multiple Google accounts. We're good. One thing that I've been trying to get going that has not really taken off is renovation loans, 203K loans, and trying to like educate people about those, because it's one of those things that people don't realize. And this is what I'm dealing with right now. I have 3 buyers who cannot find something that they like in their price range. And I said, that's okay. You can use something like a renovation loan or a 203K loan and take something that's in your price range and make it look like it's not in your price range, which is what I did. And it's one of those ways where you could find an opportunity when there are no opportunities available. There's so much like builder grade just stuff in Chicago that nobody wants because it hasn't been touched in 20 years. But just because most people are uneducated about what these loan programs are, they think to themselves, oh no, have to redo the countertops? I can never do that. So, well, actually, it's a lot easier than you think. You know what I mean? And by teaming up with a realtor or a general contractor that can help guide you through some of these decisions is something that every home buyer should do, because the options, people don't realize they have so many more options than they think they do. It's not just 30% mortgage with a 20% down payment. Like, it's a million things in between that.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me, to be honest. Like, the program itself, you're literally getting, whatever it is, $100,000 for renovations financed by the bank at your 5 or 6% interest rate, which you're never going to find anywhere else over amortized over a 30-year period. Like, for me, I don't understand why more people don't utilize them, but I think it's simply because of what you just said. There's not enough education around them, and there's a little bit more paperwork involved. But like you said, if you have the right people on your team, like, there's no reason you shouldn't be considering a 203K loan, or even just like the traditional renovation loan, you know. And because, like you said, you open yourself up to a plethora of more houses that are available, or 2 to 4 units, and you're just the financing and equity you're building is something that is just completely underrated. Like, it's easily, in my opinion, the fastest way to build your wealth and get into real estate and become a real estate investor, is to do one of those two options.
Hell yeah, I did my whole project for 5% down. Like, and if you do an FHA loan, you could do it with 3.5% down. And one of my big mistakes, and quite frankly, like I went through the process first myself, just because I wanted to see how it went. I went through the process with a general contractor who didn't really understand the program, and it
Yeah.
really slowed it down. And that's just because I myself didn't have the information. Like, as a realtor, I did not have the information. And when I talked to other realtors and even some lenders, like, they're like, yeah, that's really not my bread and butter. I really don't know much about those. But I have the conversation with every buyer, and I say, like, look, this is an option that you have. If this sounds appealing to you, we can talk more about it. But every single time, they're like, yeah, that sounds like too much work. Like, I don't think that's what I want. I think I just want something moving ready. So it's like, okay, well, you know, how do I deliver this information in a way that's digestible? Because, like, it's like you really don't realize how great of a product this is. Like, it pays for itself instantaneously.
Well, yeah,
Like,
it's like,
in my, yeah, I'll give you hard numbers. In my, I don't have my thing. So for my project, I bought the place for $312,000. It was a $375,000 project altogether. Paid 5% for that, which is like 20K, right? 20K out of my pocket plus closing costs. The ARV on that, based on comps in my area right now, even in the downturn, the low estimate right now is $450,000. So for my 20K, I have created, you know, artificially 75K in equity at the low end, assuming there's no appreciation over time. That's actually with depreciation, because when I initially ran those numbers, it was closer to 500. So out of thin air, with just a little bit of extra effort, you create money. Why would you not want to do that?
it's really just the delayed gratification game. And I think our society in general, they don't want to wait, right? Everyone wants everything Amazon style. They want it not even the next day anymore. They want it this afternoon, this evening. And like, it is a delayed gratification play, and you're getting something that actually is move-in ready. You just have to wait the 6 months or whatever it is for the construction to finish. So yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna give you a theory I have right now, and just bear with me. So that delayed gratification thing, I think that's gonna be a generational trend. I think part of that is why people were overpaying for newly renovated houses over the past year, but I actually think that's gonna continue in the future. So I think you're gonna see situations where people are able to buy these either distressed properties, outdated properties, whatever they may be, and then somebody will come in with good taste or, you know, a penchant for renovation, and they're going to be able to get top dollar or more than top dollar, because I think people will pay. Just going into the future, you know, knowing all the young people that I know today, if they could find something, you know, that's $300,000 outdated, or $400,000, maybe the same size, but has like 20K of renovation or 25K of renovations in it, I bet they pick that $500,000 place, even though there's only 25K more in renovations. They could put that 25K in, but they wouldn't do that because they'd rather just pay the extra 100 and have it now. I think we will only see that continue and propel into the future. If I
Yeah.
guess.
No, I think you're 100% right, because even our younger generation, younger kids, they get everything at their fingertips, right? And so as we're raised, we develop these
Nope.
natural habits, instincts, and we want things now. So we're not taught delayed gratification anymore as children. And like, that's what it takes to actually build some serious wealth. And most of us, in my opinion, end up settling for less than we're worth, instead of, leaning into our fears and discomforts. We go to jobs every day that we don't really enjoy, and to, have the white picket house fence and have our kids and move to the suburbs. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm about helping people get fulfilled in their life daily. And I just think too many of us end up lying to themselves. I know I did to myself for a long time because that's all I knew. My parents said you should go to college, you should go get your degree, go get your W-2 job, invest in your 401k, and then eventually you retire maybe at 60 instead of 65 if you put enough money in.
I mean, I did it too.
Yeah. But it's not until you actually can educate yourself. I didn't even know real estate was a thing. I didn't even know you could actually buy a house and then someone would pay the mortgage for you and you would actually make money by them paying the rent for you. Like that concept wasn't even it's not even taught. And that's like the capitalist of our country is we don't want people to really know about real estate because we need people to go work in the stores and at the bars and in all these service industries. Otherwise, we wouldn't be the country we are. So it's almost like it's a suppressed like education topic that we don't want our society to learn.
I'll be honest, I want everyone to learn about it because it's super fucking hard. And all the people who are like, oh, this is easy money, like, fuck you, try it. Please give it a fucking try. Knock your socks off, man. Go balls to the wall because once you realize that you're probably going to fail, statistics are not in your favor, you kind of have another appreciation for like being a landlord or being a contractor, doing a flip. I mean, to spend it 9 months on a project where so many things can go wrong, so many variables happen. At the end of the day, yeah, like there's a possibility that you can make a lot of money, but it comes with a lot of stress, a lot of holding costs, and just you have to you have to manage a lot of personalities too. Where like if you just look at the before, if you look at this person bought this property for 100,000, they sold it for 250, and you say that was easy money, you're missing the whole thing. So please try it, go for it, like so you understand it better because it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And to your point, I never thought about real estate. It never crossed my mind. And then I remember I was on the train going home from work, and somehow Bigger Pockets like popped up. The Bigger Pockets podcast popped up, and like obviously it was a soul crushing job, but Bigger Pockets podcast popped up, and I listened to it, and just like jaw dropped. I was just like, holy shit. And I think the culminating moment for me was Tom Shallcross wrote an article on Bigger Pockets. Mm-hmm. Saw that it was from Chicago, and I was like, I need to talk to this guy. And he was really the person who blew the whole thing wide open for me.
Oh, no way. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I hope we're doing that for someone who's tuning in and watching this and blowing their mind, and they're like, I've got to get involved in real estate or at least do something that makes me happy every day because it's definitely worth the leap of faith to take for sure.
Well, then let's talk about that. What are some ways that people could get into real estate? Aside from, just becoming a real estate agent or whatever, what are some ways that people can dip their toes in real estate?
I mean, I feel like we kind of covered some things already, right? The easiest ones for me are doing a 2 or 3K loan, FHA, 3.5% down, and doing like a live and flip type of model, which I did when I lived in Louisville. I fixed up the property and then sold it. I actually lived there 2 out of the last 5 years, so I didn't have to pay any capital gains, which was amazing. Then, I mean, you can obviously get into wholesaling, you can get into buy and holds, you can get into flips. I think that's kind of one of the more difficult things about real estate is there's tons of these ancillary ways you can make money. The thing I learned is like you just need to pick one thing because they all work and lean into that. Is that kind of what your thought process is too?
Yeah, I completely agree. So like right now we're looking to buy more rehab projects to turn them into rentals. And my girlfriend's like, oh, like why don't we start like trying to prospect for them? I'm like, no, like I'm not going to do that. Like there are people who do that for their job. Like there are wholesalers who do that, and like I get like properties hit my inbox every single day. But like I don't feel that that's a good use of my time trying to go find the properties myself because that's not my primary business. I sell houses. Like that's what I should be focusing on. I would rather try and find like a $500,000 house to sell than like a $50,000 house that I could turn into a rehab and make that my full-time job. You know what I mean? So. Mm-hmm. I heard a quote, and it just like hit home so hard for me. It basically said something to the effect of like one of the pivotal moments for an entrepreneur is when they go from a hustler to a CEO and understanding when to like separate the two things, you know? And you can't do everything at all times. It just doesn't work. So you gotta pick your lane, you gotta stay in it. And that's something that like I've been trying to work really hard at because I'm very much the kind of guy who's like, I want to throw on every single hat that I could find and do everything. It's like, no, slow down, Tony. Like you gotta specialize, you gotta focus.
Have you read
You know?
the book Who Not How?
No.
That's a super, super powerful book. You should put that on your list for sure. But it's by Dan Sullivan. Um, he's the founder of Strategic Coach, which I actually just signed up for recently as well. But it's basically like instead of figuring out how to do it, find your who that can do it for you. And like a big way we've done that at Quality Builders is we leverage a lot of overseas employees. So we have eight, 8 or 9 full-time virtual assistants. One in a marketing coordinator, one's an accounting coordinator, one's a sales coordinator, and they're some of our, they're some of my favorite people because we're actually like changing their lives. One of our VAs, Gurley, we helped her build her house. She bought a motorbike. Like it's like life changing, fulfilling for me to be, seeing their progress that we're able to help them make. And so, I'm always focused on like, what task am I doing? How do I set up a system or process around it? And then hand that system or process off to my next two.
That's awesome. First of all, amazing for her. That's super cool. Let's dive into that a little bit. How are you finding them? How are you training them? How are you implementing them into your workflow to grow your business? And how did you even get the idea for it?
Yeah, idea. I'm sure I heard it on a podcast at one point, and then I just knew and that I like you were saying, I couldn't do it all myself. And so we use Upwork primarily. You can also use Fiverr. You can also use it's like Work PH or there's another Philippines one. Most of them are in the Philippines. And what we do is we actually set up, we've kind of outlined our hiring process pretty decently now where I think there's either 2 or 3 steps. So the first step is usually like we send them to our website, we had them read our vision, then we request them back to give us like feedback on it, like what would you change about our website? What do you think about our vision? How does it relate to you? Then once they do that, we send them another set of questions. So we really try to make them jump through a couple hoops to really get an interview set up. And then once they do all that, like every VA we're hiring, like we want them to be a full-time employee. And so after 2 years of going through like a service like Upwork, then you can actually take them off of Upwork and pay them a normal salary. So that's our intention with every VA is we don't want like a short-term contract. We want someone who wants to be part of our team and understands and buys into our vision. So we have a very clear vision on our website to be a massive billion-dollar GC tech company. And so we want I believe that we'll have probably like 80% of our workforce that's working overseas. And, that's because to me, they're super loyal people and they're really good at what they do, to be honest. And it fulfills me to know that I'm helping people who have, so much less resources than we do here in the United States. Circling back to your other questions, like how do we train them and what systems and processes do we set up? So we're constantly setting up our standard operating procedure at Quality Builders, and it's usually each system or each process is set up with one of 3 documents. We either use a Loom video, which is a recording of you doing a process, like you would go on MLS, say, this is how I circle a do a CMA. So we'll do a Loom video, we'll do a Word document, or we'll do a flow chart. And for the flow charts, we use Lucid Chart and all combined. So one process might be, doing one of our sales consultations. So in that sense, we have a Loom video and we have a Word document. of that specific process. And then all of those go into our overall SOP, which is obviously a living document, but that's the probably the most important part in my mind on building a scalable business is building a process so that anyone can come in and step into it. It's not me training everyone how to do it. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big SOP guy. So, and I'm very familiar with Loom too. Loom's a great tool. Um, Perfect. Yeah. What are some of the goals you guys have for 2023?
So we actually, with EOS, we have our annual meeting that is coming up on the 22nd and 23rd. And so we'll probably solidify our goals for next year then. But I've actually been kind of thinking about this more recently because every year we've kind of had more revenue-based goals. And to me, like revenue-based goals are great, and it's obviously the key metric that most people would think about. But like at the end of the day, like our goal is really to be helping both sides of our marketplace. Our marketplace consists of real estate investors like yourself and subcontractors. And so like I've just kind of been rethinking this in the last couple of days is how do we actually our goals should probably actually be geared to how many people we're able to help opposed to a specific dollar value. Because in my mind, like the money, like that comes naturally when your intentions are actually to help people. And so that's not something we've solidified yet. This is breaking news that you're hearing live, but that's something I think I want to kind of rethink for our annual meeting is like maybe like the revenue goal isn't the right goal, even though that, and let that be the byproduct of us serving real estate investors and subcontractors.
I like that. If I can like this video, I see like hearts going up every now and then. If I can throw my own hearts up, that'd be good because I've never heard that before, and I can appreciate that. I think about our business as a service business. You know, we're not really a service business, but we kind of are. I think anytime you're dealing with people, you're a service business. And if you provide good service, to your point, like more business will come. You know, people will talk about you if you provide a good service. And thinking about it that way, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. What about you? Do you have anything lined up yet for 2023?
Um, well, I mean, I have like production goals that I would like to hit. Like, I would like to hit 15 million next year. I think that'd be a huge milestone for me. It would be, it would be about double of what I did this year. And like that would be tremendous. But one of the things that I'm really focusing on is becoming a lot more listing heavy. Right now, I work with a lot more buyers. It's probably like 60-40 buyers. I want to way reverse that and be like 80-20 listings. And then one of the things that I'm working on right now is building out my own group within EXP. So that way, as I get those buyers leads, I can filter those to the people that I'm either mentoring, training, or just supporting in any sort of capacity, so that I could focus on the types of business that I really want to focus on, which is listing and selling properties. There's not a whole lot of selling involved when you're a buyer's agent, and that's kind of the thing that I really like. But I mean, it's just a shift.
Yeah,
You know.
I feel like that's something that comes with time too as an agent, right? Because in the beginning, you naturally have to work with more buyers than sellers because you just don't have as many people that are selling. At least I know that's how it was for me as an agent. Is I just knew, because I was that age, like most of my friends were buying, they weren't selling. And then it's not until that like second wave of those people who bought start to sell. And if you just kind of like emphasize that side of the business more, I'm sure it'll flip. But I feel like that's a natural progression that most people make as agents.
Well, I think it's a natural progression that a lot of agents make, but I don't think it's necessary. If I could do it all and like I would have done it differently. Like, yeah, obviously being in my late 20s, like I had a lot of friends who were buying, but thinking about like how you generate business, I mean, this goes back to how I was talking about building those referral partners and those quality business relationships. I just didn't think about that. You know what I meant? You know what I mean? So if I could go talk to myself 2 years ago or 3 years ago and say like, hey, this is how you should actually build your business. You won't get as many deals as fast, but the deals will be easier. They will come more frequently, and you will make more money. 100%. You know,
Mm.
like I didn't really do a lot of prospecting. I didn't do a lot of cold calling, and I'm not the guy that's like sitting on the dialer for 3 hours. I've never done that in my life. I cold call like one day a week maybe, but it's all about intentional action.
Yeah, I like that word.
And over the past 6 months, I've been a lot more intentional with my use of time as opposed to when I just got started and I'm like, yeah, I'll take business anywhere it comes from. And like you said, like my original workflow was wake up, go on Bigger Pockets. I had all my keywords set up and I would just answer questions in the forums. And that's where I got like my first few clients. But to be honest, they were kind of problematic. They were just by the nature of Bigger Pockets, you get a lot of people who are like, "Hey, I got $10,000. What can I buy?" And it's like nothing really. You can buy like some time, maybe buy some time and save a little bit more. But like you end up having a lot of conversations like that. And one of my first clients I ever worked with, like I drove all over the place. I drove to Rockford. I drove to Joliet. I drove to Aurora. We ended up in Waukegan and I made like $1,000 after working with this guy for like 2 months. And like to be honest, like that was kind of the caliber of clientele that I was getting from Bigger Pockets, and it was very unintentional, very it was free because I was just interacting in the forums, but I was like, no, this is not the right way to grow a business. This is the right way to burn out.
Well, I have like an idea for you. I still love Bigger Pockets, but like I feel like there's got to be a way that you can still provide that value, and then basically like drive them to a consultation that someone else does, that you set, vet them properly so that you can serve your time and are only getting like some people who are super serious.
So I'm actually going to start doing that again. I have a call with someone from Bigger Pockets tomorrow, and like I know Mike Scanlon does that too at the Action Group. I don't know if you know
Mm-hmm.
Big at all,
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
they do that, and like they pretty much filter almost all of their buyer leads out to the agents on their team,
Yeah.
and they just take the business that they want because they get so much business from Bigger Pockets just because they're both super active in the forums. But they could be a little bit more selective. I don't have a team, like a formal team, so I don't really have that luxury. But that's something that I would like to grow out in the future. I haven't had the time to put pen to paper on how that's going to look.
Yeah. My theme for next year, because I've tried to pick a theme for every year, is yes is a commitment, no is a choice.
Tell me more about that.
So every time you say yes to something, such as doing an IG Live, you're essentially making a commitment. And if you would say no to it, it gives you the choice to go use that time in a better way. And so now with every time I'm saying yes, I want to, because I think part of my problem in 2020 was I had these numerous different businesses with the brokerage, with the quality builders, with the off market stuff, that I was like saying yes to everything and then stretched thin across the board. And so this next year, I still kind of want to keep everything going, but just be very intentional of what I'm committing to and making sure what I am saying yes to is going to be the highest and best use of my time to achieve my overall goal that I'm setting in each one of those different businesses.
I love that. I, that's perfect.
I'll
I
let
think
you
I
say
make
like
a
if you
theme of
want.
mine here too.
Well, cool, dude. Anything else particular that you think I can help you with, add some value with, send some more? What's your ideal client for 2023? You said you want to do more listings. Um, who does that typically look like? How are you going to find them? How can I help send more your way?
Well, like I said, I primarily focus on a few just key pillars. I focus on for sale by owners. I focus on my referral partners, so that's things that are going through probate. I don't know. I don't talk to any divorce attorneys yet, but that's going to be a pillar that I'm going to talk to. And I've noticed this theme, just based on like my own experiences working with clients, that there are basically two types of transactions. You have your normal run-of-the-mill transactions where it's just like a normal person buying or selling a home, moving to a next home. and they're typically pretty smooth. But then you have like problem transactions, and like we'll use probate for an example. Typically, things that are going through probate are high stress. Families are like at each other's throats. And if you don't know what probate is, it just means that someone died. They have real estate that isn't in a will. The proceeds need to be divvied by the courts, and being able to like help those families to me is so freaking satisfying because like you actually feel like you're earning your money. Because to be honest, like there are some times where I'm doing a transaction and like it's really easy and I almost never have to do anything. And it's like, wow, that was super easy money. But then like when you're dealing with something that is really delicate and at any moment it could go wrong and you're really like the grease on the wheels that are moving the train along, to me, that's super satisfying. And I love those transactions because it really makes me feel valuable, like I'm serving somebody and I'm making somebody's life better. So those are the transactions that I like. So, to your point, introduce me to more people. I'll introduce you to more people too.
Dude,
and I'm sure we're going to be working together on some rehabs. Like that goes, that is a certainty.
Dude, that sounds like to me though, like I know Brandon Turner, he would always say that, like follow your fire. Sounds to me like that's your fire, these probate deals. So I don't know how you can lean into that more, but sounds like that's what you should be doing. Just like your physiology changed when you started talking about it.
Anytime that you could like make a difference in someone's life, like really make a difference in someone's life, it feels good. It feels good to be valuable. And I feel that way when I'm like mentoring a younger agent or even, a newer agent or any agent that's like struggling to like find growth in their career, like to help somebody in any capacity feels good. Giving is good. It feels good to give,
Yeah. We have a book club, Equality Builders. We're starting to read The Go Giver. You haven't read that super awesome book on giving, so
awesome. I'll have to. What's it called? Go Giver.
Go Giver. Yeah, I feel like we should end our conversation on that so that everyone can go find the Go Giver and be a better giver themselves.
I like
something
it.
I'm always trying to work on, right? Because I think our natural instinct is to think about ourselves, but the second, the more and more I've gave and thought less about myself, the more it's come back to me full circle for sure.
Definitely. Speaking of giving, there are so many like toy drives or things, charities for children, for the homeless going on right now. If you're watching this, if you've stayed this long, consider participating in one of those. It's very inexpensive. It might cost you $5, and you make a difference in someone's life. So, yeah.
All right, brother. This was a sweet conversation. Let's do it again soon and figure out how to collaborate even more.
Definitely. Thank you so much for hosting me, Jonathan.
Yeah, later, Tony.
Yeah.
Bye.